What's up, everyone? And let's see here. Mick, we got to get our video. There he is. Whoa! Holy cow! You got me, buddy.
Oh, I'm wearing the same color as my background. You can't even see me.
All I see is a head. There you go. Listen, what's up, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of a Wild Time podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe, like button. Tonight, I'm extremely excited. I'm going to rattle off some names. Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Nightmare on Elm Street 5. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Just off the top of my head. And drum roll, please. Boogie Nights.
There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Wild Time podcast. Special effects. Set designer, Mick Strawn. Mick, how is it going, my man?
I'm still here.
Mick,
You get this age, and the more days you spend above ground, the better.
Amen. Hey, listen, that's the truth if it's ever been said, man. I was talking to my good friend Jerry. He does some of these with me, and I told him, I was like, man, I've got Mick Strawn coming on, and he said, well, do me a favor. He said, I met him at a convention a few years ago, and he's one of the coolest down to earth dudes that I've ever met at conventions. Tell him I said hi. So Jerry sends his
right back at you.
Mick, I started doing my homework on you, my man. It looked like you was raised in Fontana, California. Is that true?
Yeah, well, actually, I was born in Fontana. I was raised in around San Bernardino and Grand Terrace, and right in between Riverside and out in the Tules out there.
So when did you get into just becoming a creative artist like you was, man? Was that something you took to as a kid? Did you just like building things or a crazy imagination?
Yes, that's to put it simply, that's exactly what it was. I mean, I always appreciated art, and I always appreciated building, and I used to work on the tracks as a kid. I mean, between 16 and like 18 and 19 and stuff like that, work on all the housing that was being built out there. And I would go and do something until I got bored, and then I'd change. And I'd go drywall for a while, and that'd get boring, and I'd paint for a while, and that'd get boring. And when I mean paint, I mean, or drywall, I mean, where you would get out and you would start drywalling a house, and you would have maybe 500 in front of you and ready, just people just going out to this enormous chalkboard and saying, well, I'll take this one and this one and this one and this one and this one. And
man, it sounds like you was a heck of a carpenter before you got into the film industry.
I was. I was. In fact, that was part. In fact, I did a lot of painting, and I knew the ends of mechanical painting, and I kind of went to help my sister. My sister was doing off Broadway in New York, and she came out here to do one commercial, but it was a very complicated painting job, and she needed somebody who knew how to run a crew. And here's the thing: this is what you have to learn in order to work in Hollywood. You have to learn that if you don't know anything specifically about what you're doing, you have to hire family or somebody that in order that they won't let your secrets out.
There you go. That's a massive revelation right there, Mick. Not a lot of people probably knew that.
Yeah, I'll bet.
You could have probably sold that, my man.
Yeah, I think so. So I came in and I did this we did this weird commercial with the people, with John Dykstra of all things. John Dykstra from the original Star Wars. Yeah. He did all the miniature work, right? And he had this little production company, and they did this commercial that was by the Canadian Child Safety Board, and it was all about this little robot, and they had $5 million to spend, and so I got to paint a robot. I had no idea how to paint a road. I had no idea how to do anything at it. But you know what? I proved to be really good at winging it.
But did you have a family member that was specialized in painting robots you could bring in on that?
I didn't, so I pretty much had to do it myself. You know, my sister would say, "Well, we need these metallics," and I go, "Yeah, good metallics. I can."
Everything that they said, you just piled it into here, man.
Right, man. Just like, and the thing is working around John Dykstra, you learn pretty. You know, it's really cool, is because back then everything was done with models, and because he was doing a lot of space stuff, right? You know, like Star Wars, and
Right.
His whole thing was, you know, Close Encounters and stuff like that.
Science fiction.
And the model work for that was basically built off of like existing models, and they would just go in and they would scrap them, right? They would go, you would go through, and you would, and so he had like this room that was so cool at his offices. It was like, you know, like 80 feet long, and it was just nothing but shelves, and it was like, you know, 30 feet wide, and it was just nothing but models of everything that you can imagine. Models all the way from, you know, like 50s cars to like every jet airplane you've ever seen, every boat you've ever seen, every construction piece of equipment that people had made models of, and you could go in and you could scrap them. You could take pieces off of them and
mix and match, basically, it sounded like.
Right. That's what you made spaceships out of, you know. It was just it was like, oh, this is heaven for me. Damn.
I bet you could put a model car together pretty fast, couldn't you, back in the day?
Probably not, because I would glue something else on. I would say, ooh, here's a 1957 T-Bird, and maybe a 101 and a combination of the hull of PT 109.
So you would have just been making rat rods, just a little piece of this.
Exactly.
And a little piece of...
Right. Exactly. You know, you can do it in plastic, and it's cheaper.
There you go. You know, Mick, I thought it was funny, man. I mean, I'm an 80s kid, 90s kid, and I mean, my childhood is Freddie, Jason, I mean, Michael Myers, Leatherface, and you were involved with, I mean, you were a big part of those films and franchise. But the thing that really stuck out, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo was your debut. Is that true?
Let's see. Was that the first? That wasn't the first one, but it was the first one I think that I was leading a crew. And what a crazy ass film to do. You know?
Yeah, really.
I mean, really, I got to tell you that I have like weird little stories about that. Of like, you know, I had this like little rabbit car. You know, the rabbits.
Yeah.
And I swear, I would drive it down there, and we would be working in South Central, and that car would be stripped every day, anything that was in it. I mean, I'm surprised that I actually had some windows left by the time that I got done with that show. I mean, they just absolutely, I like had no radio. I mean, you know, they like, I was like down, I went out one time, it was on blocks all the way around. It was like a joke.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It sounds like somebody was playing a continuous joke on you.
It was like you know, I would go out and there'd be a group of local kids around my car. And then at the end of the day, I'd go out to my car. My car would be, you know, sitting on bricks and shit like that. It's like, fuck, not again. like I lost at least 2 total sets of tires. You know, it's like, you know, it just got so ridiculous, you know, after a while. You know, it wasn't, I was so much driving to work as I was like moving along in a loosely associated group of nuts and bolts.
Right. Well, that's interesting. I mean, did the director seek you out, like your work from the other projects, and like, we got to get Mick and his crew? Well,
you know, it's weird because it's funny that you should bring this up, because not long ago I was working on putting together a film with Jack Shoulder, and we're still kind of working on and off, but we gone on a scout together on this kind of a vampire film, right? And when we got in there, we happened to be in the neighborhood of an old friend of Jack's and mine by the name of Steve Marsh. And Steve Marsh was a production designer that did Runaway Train.
Yeah, with Eric, one of my favorite actors, Eric Roberts and John.
I worked on it too, and it's really weird because I walked in and somebody says, "Oh, tell us a story about working in Canon Films." And so I said, "Well, the thing is when you work for Canon Films, everybody in Canon Film, every company in town hated Canon Films."
I wonder why.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with their loose interpretation of paying credit cards back and things, and credit accounts.
Gotcha.
And so the thing is, so what they would do is, what they did is, your very first day of working on the film, they would give you a paper bag, and Steve Marsh goes, "I just told this story to them." And everybody goes, "Yeah, a paper bag with $10,000 in it." And I go, "Yeah, right, exactly." So if you were the head of a department, they gave you a paper bag with $10,000 in it, said, "Come back when you need more," but you have to you have to deal with the cash. You can't use accounts. You can't use it or anything, which is really, really hard.
I'd imagine.
Oh my God. It's like everything that you did was based on the credit and your relationship with all these companies and stuff like that. And when you're crippled in that respect, and somebody's just giving you a bag with $10,000, it's the most worthless bag of shit you could possibly get.
So just a brown bag with everybody's name on it.
Right, exactly. Just, God damn it.
So, Runaway Train, I feel embarrassed for looking over that dude. I mean, that was a big movie. That's what launched Eric. Eric Roberts at the time was an up and coming big name. He was one of them promising actors coming up.
Yeah,
he had a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, he had another role in a film called Birdie. I think that he was Matthew Modine's friend, and he was like really particularly hard to work with, I have to say. He didn't like to get up in the morning. So literally we're up in Alyeska, and we would have to draw straws as to who got to wake him up.
Yeah, I can imagine that being an issue, especially for a man that like to partake in the party scene a little bit.
A little bit, yeah, right.
Well, he may have had a name for himself.
Possible.
What got you into horror? Because I've got I want to get going first on Nightmare, because I think was that your first horror project, Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
No, I did a lot of I did a lot of Ouija board, the Kindred. I did a lot of effects with Tassel Bauer, and I did a lot of, and you have to understand how a lot of these shows is for mechanical effects, particularly not as much makeup effects, but mechanical effects. Right. You would do a day here and a day there and a day there. So like in a week, I would have been working on House, the Kindred, just absolute zillions of shows, right? Ouija board, so I set up the effects on with Peter Chesney. I ran his shop and set up the effects for the mechanical effects for Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of my job to go down and drop off all the invoices, because we were waiting for a director, right? Yeah. So we gone as far as we could. And I'm waiting at the bottom of the elevator, waiting to go up, because it was on the 8th floor on Rodeo, their offices. and I was waiting to go up, and I had like literally I was in the process of laying myself off for a while until the film started, and I was going to work on the effects, and I was with Peter Chesney. But an old friend of mine happens to come up, and his name's Jerry Olson. And Jerry Olson winds up being comes in. And I said, "Hey, Jerry, what's up?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, I just got this. I just got this new producer job. I'm going to be working on Nightmare on Elm Street 3." And I go, "Really? I just finished finishing up the effects." And we get onto the elevator, and in the elevator, I pitched. I said, "You know what? I know all the effects that we're going to be dealing with, and it's going to be tied into sets quite a bit. And you know that I know art department too, because we had worked on Quite Cool together." I said, "I tell you what, why don't you let me be production designer? I'll bring my sister on as set decorator, and we'll art direct the thing for you. How about that?" And he agreed, and the doors opened.
Man,
that was it.
I mean, that just fell right into place, didn't it, man? I mean,
it was like it was the first time, and I had never heard of an elevator pitch before.
First time for everything.
First time for everything. Yeah, there you go. So I made my elevator pitch, and we went on, and it was it. And then from then on, I just said, okay, well, then if I'm going to be the production designer, if I'm going to be the art director, we're not going to do this on location like we did the first two. We're going to take it all on stage. And by stage, I mean disgusting, horrible warehouse in the middle of downtown LA, and right across the street from the jail, where I used to sit in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd be standing there at the food truck on the corner eating tacos and watching the grips come out of weekend jail and go directly in to the stage.
So you was watching Cops before it was even on TV, I guess.
Hey, it was right there,
Reality show right in front of your eyes.
Hey, you know what reality TV used to be? Reality.
There you go. But hey, listen, the scene, did you have anything to do with the scene where he becomes a puppet?
Oh yeah, God, yes. Yeah.
Man, that was like one of the scariest scenes of when I was a child ever.
Well, you know what? And I got to tell you something. We did a lot of that. Was actually we built that room in, and we built the room in the workshop of the guy that did it, and I cannot think of his name. The puppet Kenham, I think, and we set it up in there so that he could film it as he did along, because he did stop motion, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a stop motion segment to it, and then there was like the cutting up the arms and all the rest of that.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I went with Rachel Talley. Rachel and I went out to see the first collection when they first put it together as a scene, right?
Yeah.
And it was shocking. It was so horrendous. It was like all of us are walking out of there going, "Oh, that was just great." This is great. You're walking with your hands like this. And, man, I got to tell you something. And of course, then they had to to get to the MPAA. They had to cut it down, and the first assemblage of it
was brutal.
Brutal. It was just.
I mean, if you go back and think about that, the ligaments pull out of the dude's arms, his feet. I mean, that's just. It hadn't been done before.
When you saw the whole thing done, man, you were just like, "Oh God!"
I can remember that dude just giving. I mean, that was one of as a small child, which I grew up. I had two older brothers.
It is still one of my favorite kills. I mean, it's just.
I had planned on asking you that same question towards the end of our conversation, but that has to be towards the top that you were involved with. I mean, that's iconic.
Well, that the whole, I mean, and then the other side of it is the kind of like lighter, uh, uh, the cockroach kill.
Lifting weights.
Yeah, that the whole cockroach sequence, and I had so much to do with it and how it was set up and the slime and all the rest of that.
That was gross. Yeah, that was pretty good, man. I like that one.
It was good. Well, and it went along with something that to me 3 and 4 and the things that I'm most proud of is the journey.
Yeah,
is that 3 and 4 are both. I think that I saw them 3 and 4 because I don't see anything after the first one as being a horror film.
right.
I think that after that, it's as close to being sort of Alibaba and the Thieves, right? I mean, it's a journey. It's Sinbad the Sailor journeys, that kind of thing. I mean,
That's an interesting way to put it, dude. That really is.
Well, think of it was the way that I had to see it in order to production design it, because this is a journey that collects all these people together as it goes, and the strength of the journey is the strength of the members that go together for it. Both 3 and 4 have kind of the same journey to them,
Yep.
And making the journey interesting, is where it was at in order to lead to the kills.
I'll tell you, man, that had to be a challenge too. And with the Dream Child, I'd seen something on Facebook. I was scrolling the other day, and was you involved with the big where all the bodies, like people are pushing out of the Freddy's chest and stuff? Was it?
That was the 4th.
Oh, it was Dream Master, right?
Yeah, Dream Master.
Okay,
oh, yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. I mean, that was an entire sequence. It was shot in many places, and
Yeah.
I mean, we had the one accident with it that was over at the shop, Steve Johnson's shop, right? Where like literally it fell down the whole facade, but messing with scales. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I wrote a book about it called Behind the Screams, and basically it was great because it was done in such a short period of time that it involved everybody in town and to do a little part, right?
Yeah.
So that all coming together for that sequence, it's just astounding. I mean, it was my job as production designer to pull together all these effects people and set people to make them all come together cohesively. And I think that was a case where we pulled all that together really well in order to give it that look.
Well, it was, I mean, they hold up to this day. And a quick story, I was at Scarefest this past year, right, and I was in character. I was in leather, before we talk about Texas Chainsaw 3, I was in character. I've worked my hind end off, got a hold of R.A. Mahaloff. He hooked me up with everything I needed to wear. I walked past you and you're holding this cute little dog and you say, "Hey, I made that mask." And I was like, "Really?" And I was like, "It's Mick." And then me and you start talking a little bit. I'm in line and the people, and it was so surreal. I mean, to me, obviously. R.A. sends the guy out. He's doing these photo ops and he's, I've got to know R.A. a lot. And he sends the guy out. He's like, "Go out there, get at him, and cover him with blood." Well, I'm sitting there talking to you, and this guy comes out with a big thing of blood, and he's like, "Are you Adam?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "R.A. sent me to do this to you." And he just starts wiping blood all over me. But what I was going to tell you, man, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, in my opinion, and I'm the biggest Chainsaw fan you'll meet. That is my favorite sequel.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people go on, it wasn't filmed in Texas, the blah, 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 this and that. Listen, the set, like everything about that movie, like the gas station. I mean,
right.
Everything, the truck. I don't know if did you have anything to do with the truck?
I built the gas station. I had the truck built, and I had it built again and again and again and again because I wanted it because I'm from San Bernardino. Right.
Right.
And San Bernardino is that truck.
That was called the terror truck, wasn't it?
Right. The thing is they would come back and they kept making it look kind of like stylish, right?
Yeah.
I said, no, you don't understand. This thing has got to look like a shit wagon that you're just surprised that it's all moving in the same direction. That's and I have to tell you a great story about that. Is so they leave the gas station, right? And we're out there and we're shooting in the Mercedes, right? And we're running along the road with the Mercedes, and we're shooting across at the truck, stalking them, right?
Yeah.
And as we're going down, the truck is like going out and coming back in and coming back in, and then there's this wild ass swing of the truck that literally goes from like 80 feet that way. It just comes right. And it's in the film. I mean,
yeah.
You know that scene where the truck comes up like this?
Yeah, yep. You can tell where the lights. I mean, you can see it just take a bit, like he just gets the gas.
And here's the great thing about it: is so we get to the end of the run that we're making, and Jeff gets out and goes, "Okay, this time we'd like to do this with the truck going in a straight line." And the guy that's driving the truck goes, "God damn it, are you kidding? No, it was a straight line with this fucking thing." That thing was so far. The thing is I wanted it way up in the air, but not with big shocks or anything like that. I wanted it just like
a small lift with big tires.
Well, just like a bunch of people would do it, if they were all sharing like one brain cell amongst five and maybe one tooth. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
And I wasn't far off with it.
No.
Right?
What made it, was it your idea to put the leather bra on the front?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Man, that was a great add to that. I'm telling you, I've dissected this film since I've been 4 years old. I mean, from everything. And like another thing I noticed with the gas station that your casual fan probably wouldn't notice, I loved that I'm assuming it had to be you, put the, in Alfredo's room, he had like the cuts of beef posters and.
Oh, yeah.
I love that, dude.
I love it. And you have to understand is we built the gas station. That's all constructed. The whole thing. There was nothing there on that lot, right? So
how long did it take you to do that?
I think that we had it all up before filming. So, that was probably couldn't have been more than a couple of weeks to build that, but that whole thing, including, I mean, the restroom, right? When you go to the restroom,
all the cuts.
The cut-ups and everything in it like that goes back to my youth.
Oh yeah.
My dad back in the 60s would always be one of those guys back then. He'd work on his own car, right?
Right.
And when he did, he had like that auto parts store, right? The incredibly greasy, dark,
right.
Where
the
you
bikini calendar women and the posters.
Well, here was the great thing about it is one day I go, well, I got to take a leak, right? And so they say, oh, well, the bathroom's around the corner. And I go and I open it up. And here's the thing. Naked women, cutouts. So you couldn't even see the walls, right? That's all that was in there, right? And
so you took that and put it in Chainsaw. You took that happened to you as a child and put it in there. Wow. Genius.
Yeah, and here was the weird thing about it. The weird thing about it is what I still can see in my head, right? We didn't even get close because we just didn't have enough anything. We didn't have enough people. We didn't have enough magazines. We just didn't. I mean, we went as far as we possibly could, and even barely just got how disgusting it really was.
Man, I'll tell you, you did just the animals hanging as they walk by, and just that whole feel of that gas station could not have been, in my opinion, like I said, it couldn't have been done any better for that film.
There's another thing about the gas station that you might have noticed is that when they did the modern Leatherface, right?
Yeah.
The most recent one. I saw that, right? And they did this barn, right? And in the barn had a lot of hanging things, right?
Yeah.
But and here's where the big difference is all those hanging things looked like they could have been hanging in a Melrose art store, right?
Yeah.
Because they're all balanced, and like there were bones, but like if it was a rib cage, there was it was all like really tastefully done. And what we were trying to do was so far away from tasteful. I mean, like I was like, if Leatherface made a piece of art, he'd take a skull and he'd just take a femur bone and drive it through the head like this, and art, right?
It would be to him. It would be art to him. Yeah, his mind works a little bit different than a advanced artist.
That's what you saw in the gas station, right? You saw this just harsh, just hideous kind of stuff, and I think that they blew it so badly on the modern version of it. I was like, this looks like a boutique.
Yeah. It was like you said, man. It looked like it was pretty disgusting.
Pretty. Yeah, they're not disgusting, but pretty disgusting.
I also liked Leatherface's room. I don't know if a lot of people seen it, but there was a Santa Claus, like a Christmas ornament.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had a lot of whacked out.
I love that aspect.
The strange thing about it too is that there was something about it to me that I was trying not to be overt about everything. In other words, like you walk in and you don't see just a skeleton like laying on the sofa or anything like that. But what you do is you saw backlit a bunch of jars that had like weird things in them. You don't know what they are,
like pickled pig's feet, but human part.
But you don't know,
right.
That's the thing is, and then you go around the corner and you see the industrial kitchen with the big hammer come down here on the side, and you go, well, this has just gotten bizarre.
Man, from what I read, they didn't have enough time to really work and transform the house. And I thought that the house was perfect for a 1989 movie. I mean, I thought that it was so modern that it made it so much more realistic that they had working appliances.
We built the whole house. I mean, we built the kitchen, we built it, everything in there. But here's the great thing about it, and this is what I learned from being a production designer is that everybody's got a story about it that has nothing to do with what the fuck went on. I mean, and you see that as production designer year after year after year. You go, oh yeah, really. There was somebody that was telling me that I remember I was having an argument with somebody about Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and this woman was saying, yeah, well they got kicked off of after 3, they got kicked out of the house, and they couldn't go back to the house. And I was saying, well, yeah, you see, that's not accurate, because we had no intention of going back in the house. We had a certain lighting gag and a certain series of things that we needed to do, and we needed it as a facade, because you can't light that way through a house. The beams of light coming out of it, that requires room, and basically the facade is a huge kook for the light. And I was trying to explain this to it, and she goes, well, it's you guys just got kicked off the property. And somebody else finally writes in and goes, you're talking to the production designer, right?
Oh, shoot.
At a certain point, I didn't even know what to say anymore.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah. You know what? That's what it comes down to after a while. It's like, yeah, whatever. Okay.
Just let it go.
Yeah, let it go.
But Texas Chainsaw, again, part 3, my favorite sequel. Everything about it, man. You knocked it out of the park. And I love the pits at the beginning. Yeah, the body pits.
Oh God, that stuff to me, that was just great.
Man, wasn't Greg Nicotero and you guys were on? You all came up with the mask together. Did I read that right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Greg was really busy. Greg was busy and kept and like when you went down to his shop, there was nothing but buffalo around, right?
Yeah,
because he was doing
Dances with Wolves.
Dances with Wolves, right? And so he had a contract to do all the buffalo. So literally you went into I mean, there were buffalo in the parking lot, there were buffalo like absolutely everywhere. There were buffalo parked on the street outside. You went inside and it was like just a sea of buffalo, and then there was a table in the middle of it, and there was a mask, and I was in to approve it, and it had full lips and like, you know, anyway, I grabbed a pair of scissors and cut it up and said, no, it should look like this. Now sew that back together and I got to go.
Man. So it looked a whole lot different, the original?
Yeah, I did.
Wow. That is awesome.
But like I say, I mean, you know, that was the only film that I was working on at the time, and he was working on a million films at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I figured, hey, I got this.
I'll help you out a little bit here.
I'll help you out there.
But, and I was reading, you know, I've done my homework, and another thing, there's a couple movies on here, man, that really took me by surprise. And Mortal Kombat, Scorpion's Lair, dude, you hit an absolute grand slam with that. You got a lot of love on that, Mick. I mean, that was what went into that?
Well, I literally got a call from a producer friend of mine. And he said, hey, listen, I need you to see a film because we got a problem with it, right? And I said, okay, well, yeah. And by this time I was doing a little bit of fixing. And so I go to a screening room and he shows me Mortal Kombat. And he says, what are we lacking here? I mean, what is this? And I said, you know, you have kind of you built this off of a game, right? And he goes, yeah. And I said, and I know the game. I mean, the game is Mortal Kombat, and basically it's like two guys fight and the background scrolls up in the background, right? I mean, that's it. If I had to put, that's what it was, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, that's what the game was. And I said, here's the problem: is you've done that, and it looks like a video game. It doesn't look like a movie, but it looks like a video game. And now we have to turn around. We have to make it look like a movie. And by that, I mean, there were a bunch of fights, right?
Right.
And then they would have these beautiful backgrounds, but it was still just a fight. And then here's the background, and here's the fight, and here's the background. The one is not interconnected with the other. And one doesn't seem to be even part of the story, other than we went to this island to do these fights.
Tournament, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is basically then it looked like they were filming a tournament. Well, that's all interesting, but it doesn't make a film, right?
Right.
And so what I said, so what we're going to do is we're going to have to go through here, and we're going to have to start tying together locations to the fights and expand out, and then I'll make one huge fight that was originally was in a grove of trees, right?
Right.
And I said, and the grove of trees is terrible. I mean, literally, you literally have a fight between, you know, these supernatural combatants that hide behind trees. I mean, really? What the hell is that? So I built an entire sequence with Robin. We built an entire sequence, and then built it in a steel structure, and then put it in the middle of a blimp hanger, blacked the entire blimp hanger out, and then I literally had this one photo from a National Geographic magazine that had these bears, you know, that are hung, that were built on these bamboo scaffolds up on these islands, right? And I just stole that whole idea and put the bodies of the kings up in the air, right? And by the way, I might add, so we were 100 feet high, we were 100 feet deep, 130 feet across. I mean, that was an enormous set. and it was all practical, and it was all done with zip ties and bamboo. right? And we started from the top and moved to the bottom, and we cobwebbed them as we went. And you had the ladders, and you had the bears the kings were on that were wrapped up in and those were all X-rated dolls. And we went up, and we had to spend 2 weeks looking at every porn shop in all of LA and buy there 3 at a time to get up to 60 X-rated blow-up dolls.
Well, that's what you besides dealing with the heights, it sounds like probably one of the more fun movies you could be on.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure the grips all took care of.
Man, that was a Mortal Kombat heck of a movie, man. And like, I don't want to keep you on here too long. I've had a blast. So I know I read a little bit. You like to play bass guitar?
I do.
What's some of your favorite music?
It's pretty easy because it's just one band. It's the Grateful Dead.
Ooh, one of my best friends, huge Deadhead.
The Grateful Dead and Jerry Garcia. And I got to tell you something, these days, that music is everywhere.
Oh yeah. It's made a comeback.
Completely made a comeback. I was back in the day. I used to take my entire crew. We would go out and get a whole slew of $25 tickets, and the whole crew would go and see a couple of shows for the tour.
Well, I bet you know what, that's memories that I would say they all talk about today. I mean, Jerry Garcia, it was In the Dark. Was that the one that came out that had Touch of Grey, Hell in a Bucket?
Right.
Great album. Great album.
Absolutely great album. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the one where Bill Walton had the Boston Celtics jersey. I think he loaned it to the drummer.
Yeah, Bill Walton would be out there all the time, man. He'd be out. Somebody would always put a tambourine in his hand.
Yeah, he got to feel like it. I mean, and a lot of the Boston Celtics, actually, Robert Parrish, I think, was like, man, he said, Bill, when he came and played for us towards the end of his career, he said he took us all, met the Grateful Dead.
Right. Yeah, everybody would go to a show. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to remember that the Grateful Dead, 8 years out of the 10 years out of the 80s, the Grateful Dead had the highest receipts for and the highest concert numbers, right? And that was a popular band.
Yeah, the crazy thing was they were like almost underground. They wasn't loved by TV or anything, but they had a huge following. I mean,
following. Yeah.
It was, and the crazy thing is it's later towards the end of their career when they really get, MTV throws them a video on, and I bet you would have loved to have been a production designer on that video.
Oh yeah, man. Especially the one with all them up on stage playing skeletons. Oh yeah.
One of the greatest videos ever, especially really, my childhood, man.
So much fun, yeah.
Touch of Grey, Grateful Dead. They're just good feeling music, man.
Yeah. The good old Grateful Dead.
What would you say if you had to say which film are you most proud of? I would say that could change day to day because you've just sit here and told me all kinds of fun things, man. So
yeah, overall, I think the one that I enjoyed working on the most would probably have to be Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Oh, really?
It was just it was a group of people trying to work without a great deal of bickering and backfighting and politics or anything. Just working between February and August to get a film out.
Just a great collection of people for the main. That sounds like a great time, man. And the waterbed scene and that's classic. I think Billy Idol's blasting in the background.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there's so many great moments in that film. Andres sitting up when he's out at when he's dead, right? Sitting up and doing, "Hey, baby," there are just so many great. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is a better film, right? Yeah. There's just no doubt about it. That is holistically, it's a great film, but it's very heavy, and you have to watch it from the beginning, right?
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street 4 is like the era that it came from. It can be enjoyed in 3 minutes.
There's so many memorable ones, like you said, man. Part 3's, Part 3 is a whole different sequel than Part 2, and it's kind of like you said, you've really got to sit there and watch the whole thing.
Right? Yeah. Number 3 is like there's a certain heaviness and a ponderance, and it really is a really deep, heavy film. Whereas when you say that Nightmare on Elm Street 4 was the MTV one, it really was.
Yeah, you can tell that feel to it also. It's got I don't know how you would explain it. Maybe a modern fun feel, whereas Part 3 was darker, like you said.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's the way that I saw it. Yeah.
Mount Rushmore of horror.
Yeah.
I'm putting it to you now.
Okay. I like it. Let's see. How's that?
I like that.
Well, thank you very much.
Let's see. And my last question I got for you, Mick, before I let you get off here, my man.
Sure.
You worked on Boogie Nights.
I did.
Did you make Dirk Stigler?
I did not. I did not. But boy, have I got some. You know what? If you have time, sometime later in the year, we'll just do one just about that film, because I've got 45 minutes worth of stories that'll have you rolling.
I want that date set up immediately.
Just let me know.
We'll shoot for December, because that's my birthday month, and that'd be a heck of a present.
It's a deal. Because I've got so many stories that back right into that, and it takes about 45 minutes to get through them all.
Dude, well, that's about what we've got running right now, Mick, and I cannot thank you enough, dude, for being on here. See you at Scarefest.
Hey, we'll see you at Scarefest.
Can't wait. Okay. Everybody, Mick Strawn, thank you for tuning in. Adam Wilde's podcast, a Wild Time podcast. Mick, thank you again, brother. And take care. Be careful out there, and don't do nothing I wouldn't do.
Okay, brother. Well,
take care, brother. See ya.
Bye.